Hello folks, and welcome to the channel, or welcome back. And in this episode we're going to try to fix the problem with my Mini One, which is a 2009 1.4 liter gasoline engine, also known as the R56. While I drove the Mini, it started to stutter. It doesn't do it all the time, and it doesn't really matter if I accelerate or if I'm just driving at a constant speed. Every so often it stutters, and it turned on the engine malfunction light. And it doesn't run smooth on idle, and it smells bad at the exhaust, not what it usually smells. And the engine malfunction light came on while we were driving. And if you listen to the engine, it is not running very nice on idle. It's a bit shaky, and you can hear it going up and down a bit. The fact that the engine stutters while we're driving along, and it doesn't really matter if you accelerate or not, that the exhaust smells bad, that it runs not smooth at all on idle, and that I have an increased fuel consumption, indicates most of the time that there is a problem with the oxygen sensor. And if you've seen my videos on ECUs, then you know what the oxygen sensor does. It is actually measuring the exhaust fumes, and then it sends that signal back towards the ECU, and then the ECU will regulate the ignition and the amount of mixture that goes into the engine. If that signal is wrong, then you really have an issue. So it doesn't mean that this is the problem. The only way to figure that out is to attach a diagnostics tester. If you're going to do your own maintenance on your car, then a diagnostics tool like this is a must. This is an OBD2 tester specifically for BMW and Mini, but you can load different programs on it. Now, I'm not making a commercial for this brand, but this is a pretty good one. But they come in all kind of forms and sizes, so that's entirely up to you what you want to use. Now, typically you will find a connector underneath your dashboard next to the steering column, a connector, and this is the connector. This is your OBD2 connector. Sometimes it's a proprietary connector, but most of the time it's the standard. If you plug this tester in, then you can check what the error codes are on your car. And this is what we're going to do on this Mini. So let's go and install it. And on the Mini, the connector is right here underneath the dashboard on the left-hand side, close to the latch for the bonnet. Okay, that's connected. So here's the OBD2 tester, and I'm going to go to Diagnostics. And it's going to load up two programs, BMW and Mini. Of course, I'm using a Mini and the version, and then it's loading. So I will check the engine, and then we'll see how that works. And we try to find the fault codes. And it says oxygen sensor before catalytic converter connection. And it has actually a couple of errors. The heater didn't work on the catalytic converter, and again the same, and again the same, an electrical problem. So it says oxygen sensor before the catalytic converter, because typically you have one in front of the catalytic converter and one behind. So this confirms more or less what the problem is. So first of all, we're going to check the connector. I'm going to erase the code now. So it's been erased, so now that alarm light should be off. So I will start the car, and then we'll see if the alarm light comes back or not. You can see the alarm light is now off, but it will come on once I drive the car again. So it's kind of an intermittent fault. But the reset did work. Let's see if we can trigger it. It doesn't happen all the time, so I probably need to take it for a spin on the road. The black plug that you see there, that's where the connection is between the wiring loom and the actual oxygen sensor. And I already have it cleaned up and checked it out, and that turned out to be okay. So the oxygen sensor is right underneath there, so we have to take off this heat shield. This car has 157,000 kilometers, so it is not abnormal that your oxygen sensor is getting worn out or becomes faulty. And that's where it sits, all the way down there. Not an easy place to get to. So first of all, I think we'll have to disconnect all the connectors. So we have some space to put a socket up, and then we can get it off. So I removed the connector off the oxygen sensor, and here it is, and hopefully I can move it back a bit. Now that's loose. And here it is. This is the new catalytic converter. I will have to take the plastic off, but these guys come in different price ranges. This one was about 150 euros. I've seen some of them for about 50 and 35 euros, but often you don't have the housing with it or the connectors, and then that is an issue. This one is already prepared for the Mini. So I will have to take the plastic tab off, and then we can go and install it. Removing and installing the oxygen sensor is a bit tricky because you have cables coming out, so you need a special socket. In this specific case, I can't get to it, so I'm going to need an open socket, and it's quite deep down. Now you can get these sockets, and I would recommend, if you're going to do this job, get the right socket for it. And this is the way we're going to fit it. So the sensor will go in like so. Right? And then you can see the cables are fitting nicely. So now you can remove it. Now these typically should not be very tight into the exhaust manifold. So let's see if we can get the other one out. This is pretty tough to get it out, so I'm going to use a pneumatic hammer or ratchet to try to get it out. That's where the socket sits, and I can't show it you when I'm putting it up because my hands are in the way and there's no way to film this. It's loose. Almost full. Oh shit. Okay, here it is. We got it. So it's always good to double check. This is the old one, this is the new one. They look almost exactly the same. You can see that on the new one, the cables are not as protected as on the old one. But okay, it is what it is, and the new one was already quite a good quality type and quite expensive compared to some others. So now it's just a matter of installing it and just turning it in by hand and then hooking it up. And you see that little hole there? That's where it's supposed to go in. I'm going to turn it in now, but unfortunately I won't be able to show it to you because my hands will be in the way when I do so. You might want to turn the wire a bit every so often. I think it's in all the way at the end now. So now I'm going to use that socket, put the socket around it and tighten that up to about 40 Newton meters, not more than that. So I'm going to set this to about 40 Newton meters. There we go. That should be it. And now we can... The connector is now installed, and now I just need to cable it up. We got it all cabled up, and now we can install the heat shield. Folks, I'm really sorry that I forgot to turn on my microphone, but I'm going to take the car for a test spin and see how the new oxygen sensor is working. Now when I'm starting up the engine, I see no alarm conditions. The alarm light or the engine malfunction is off. I'm checking it on the Diagnostics reader to see if we have any indications that something is possibly wrong. Unfortunately, otherwise you would have heard the engine running, but it's running very smooth. So here I'm taking off for a test spin, and it's about a 10-click drive, and if there is a problem, it should show up. When I came back, there was no issues. The car feels very good, very nice, and I think this is working out just fine. So the real cause was a faulty oxygen sensor. It was causing intermittent problems. But I also noticed that the car is now driving a lot better. It accelerates much better. It's like a new car. So this guy was already for a while probably giving the wrong readings. And finally it crapped out on me. All right. So thank you for viewing, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.